right?
well,
So
what's your opinion on this cat? Tell me. Do you like this cat?
I'm
It's
allergic to
pretty.
cats. I'm not a big cat person. I got
Oh my
dogs. I got
god.
2 pit bulls. My dogs will probably tear your my dogs will probably tear your cats to pieces. I ain't gonna lie.
Mwah.
So I'm not really a big cat person, to be honest.
Mwah,
But I
mwah,
mean,
mwah.
the cat is cute. If I was
Well,
gonna,
thank you. Prismo
I'll give
says
the
thank
cat.
you.
My sister is a cat person. My sister is a cat person. I would gift a cat to my sister for Christmas.
Well, did you know that this is a vegan cat? He's on a vegan
I don't know.
diet.
I mean, honestly, I was vegan for like 6 months after I played ball because
How
they
come you
made me
stopped?
gain weight because I like I like meat. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, you could eat like Beyond Meat and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a cook, so I cook. I like preparing my food.
Yeah, you could
I
do
like
that as a
preparing all
vegan though,
my
dude.
food.
Like if you
I
had
like hunting
two
too. I like
were
hunting, so
really
we
okay, well,
differ. We differ. Like I hunt, so it's like we
so why do you
differ
want to shoot and kill
ideologically
animals?
because God gave us dominion over the fowl of the earth.
Okay, so you believe in a magical sky wizard and that lets you murder things? You're
Bro,
saying an
it's not murder. It's
all-powerful
not.
being? Sorry, you're saying an all-powerful being designed a universe where you would be able to murder creatures. Does that make sense?
So, so you don't believe in God, is what you're saying.
No. But I'm saying, does it make sense to you that an all-powerful, all-wise being would create sentient beings that can think and feel just like you can, but he'd be okay with
Hmm.
you murdering those sentient beings?
For one, animals cannot think the same way that we can. You have to
Okay,
acknowledge that, bro.
there are people
They don't
that
have
can't
the
think the same
rational.
way. There are people that
Okay,
can't think the
bro,
same way we can.
but don't you understand that you're talking about an anomaly? You're talking about a minority of people who don't have
I
the ability to
I
rationalize
don't see why that
and
matters.
it it
I don't
it
see why marginal, just because it's a marginal case, why that would matter.
because you're taking a small percentage of people who may be mentally unstable, right? You're taking that small percentage and using that to represent a whole being.
Okay, if you're going to claim that, certain characteristics of an animal or certain characteristics that are lacking in an animal justifies killing it, then that would mean in marginal cases where a human being lacks those characteristics, you should be okay with killing those human beings.
That's why we got the death penalty.
That's not a okay. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm saying. So I see veganism as a logical extension of human rights. So if you're going to claim that
But
animals
animals
shouldn't
aren't
have,
humans.
well, listen. If you're going to claim that animals shouldn't have similar rights as human beings, like a right to life, you're going to have to point out a morally substantive difference between humans and animals. And I've never seen anyone point out a
Can
morally substantive difference.
can
So could
animals can
you
animals can animals rationally and logically pick a candidate to vote for?
Okay, can a mentally disabled person rationally and logically pick out a candidate to vote for? Honestly, not even somebody who's mentally disabled. How many people are political ideologues who can't rationally pick out a candidate to vote for? We're even talking about completely normal functioning human beings who aren't mentally disabled, but there are people who are just crazy political ideologues. Let's go back to the vegan thing because I'm interested in that. So again, I haven't seen an argument demonstrating that there's a morally substantive difference between a human and an animal that would justify taking away something like the right to life from an animal. So can you name a morally substantive difference between a human and an animal that would justify taking away the right to life from an animal?
So for one, we have the ability to reason and to logically communicate with each other. For two, animals have more utility than just being eaten. Okay, so you can use them for transportations. Look at how we use horses throughout history for transportation. Look at how we've used cattle. Um, so to me, it's not even about being moral because animals don't even have the ability to rationalize and logically defend their own selves. Okay. So for I mean, I'm not against veganism, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these dudes who are just, oh, I
Well,
don't
you
I
are
don't fuck
against
with no vegan.
no, no, no. You are against veganism if you're paying for animals to get murdered. So no, you are against it.
Nah, I mean
So
my best friend is vegan, but that don't mean that I'm against him.
okay, so if you're okay, you are against veganism if you are paying for an animal holocaust. So no, you certainly are against veganism. Just because you won't be combative against veganism, that doesn't mean you aren't against it. So you're claiming
I
the
don't
ability
agree.
to have logic. Sorry, you're claiming that the lack of ability to have logic and reason, along with having some sort of practical uses, so like for food, clothing, transportation, that justifies killing animals.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we were to find human beings that lacked the ability to have logic and reason, and they had other uses, so we could use them for food, we can kill and eat anybody, really. You think
Under the
that's
law,
just
under the, under the law, humans are born with natural rights, inalienable rights,
right?
due to the
Well, you
Constitution.
claimed, okay, so when you named these traits for why it's okay to kill an animal, the assumption would be the reason humans have these rights, like a right to life, is because they have these qualities like logic, reason, and so forth. So if you're
Intellectual fortitude,
yeah, so if you're
communication.
gonna so if we can find humans that lack these abilities or qualities, then in order to be
the
logically
s-
consistent, you'd have to agree it's okay to kill these people.
the soul essence as well, your soul,
Okay, can you prove a
which
soul exists?
you personally don't believe in.
Okay, so can you prove that a soul exists?
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can't necessarily prove. That's why we
Okay,
have
so
theory.
you're
That's
you're
why we have theory.
granting rights based on
You can't
something that you can't
necessarily
even
prove.
prove.
I mean, you can't necessarily prove gravity. That's why it's the theory of gravity. It's not a fact, is it?
Okay, we can prove that gravity exists, and I don't think you understand the definition of a theory. So
Actually, I do understand the
you want me to
definition of a
prove that
theory. It's
gravity exists?
bro.
Watch, watch. Oh my god, it fell!
I'm not saying that gravity doesn't exist. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that the reason that we have theory is because of things like this that you can't definitively
Okay,
prove on every single
you realize
instance.
there's a term called germ theory?
Absolutely.
Theories can be proven facts. What you're talking about is a hypothesis. Theory and
Yeah, but
hypothesis are two different things.
right. But the thing about the germ theory is that it's not applicable every
Okay,
single
well,
time.
here's the problem that I have with you bringing up something like souls. You're attributing something that you can't actually prove exists to a certain class of being, and you're
I mean, you
using that as a basis to grant rights. Like, I could just as easily say humans don't have a soul, but animals do. Therefore, it's okay to kill people, but not animals. Does that make any sense?
I mean,
You wouldn't be able to,
you could.
and you wouldn't be able to disprove that. I could just as easily claim the opposite. Animals have souls, humans don't. Do you have any evidence to disprove that?
I mean, bro, you could say this, like you could say the same. You could say, "Oh, animals are superior to humans because if a tiger catches a human lacking, he's gonna eat him." You could say the same thing, but we all know that that's not the
Okay,
truth.
do you think it's reasonable to claim that a soul, which isn't something you can prove exists, is a basis to grant rights?
I think that because we are human beings and because we have developed societies to this point, excuse me, because we're human beings and because we develop society to this point, you can pretty much come to the assumption that we are superior beings. And
Okay, we can agree that humans are superior to animals in many ways. our intellectual capability, our ability to reason, develop science, society, whatever, I don't see that as a morally substantive difference between humans and animals. So I could point out people who certainly could not develop a society. They're like not even people who are mentally disabled necessarily are incapable of developing a society. You can find plenty of people in prison who lack the qualities to develop a society. There's plenty of
I
antisocial
wouldn't I
people.
wouldn't
There
I
are
wouldn't say
plenty.
that they lack the qualities to develop a society. I would say that because they have forfeited their freedom because of whatever circumstance that they were in, whatever reason that they committed the crime, that doesn't mean that they lack the ability to advance a society. It just means that their
It certainly
freedoms
does.
and
Okay,
so
you
everybody who
have to
goes to
grant.
everybody who's been to prison is just they
No,
just
no.
don't
So
have the ability to.
let me rephrase that. You have to admit that there are at least certain people in prison who lack the ability
Absolutely.
to build a society or function in a society just because they have so
Absolutely.
many antisocial qualities. Right.
Right.
So my point is, again, if you're going to use this as a basis to take away animal rights, if we were to find trait equalized human beings who lacked intellect, didn't have the capability to build or function in a society, do you think it's okay to kill them?
kill them? No, absolutely not. But you're still equating humans to animals. We're just not the same thing, bro.
Well, I understand that we're not the same thing. There's plenty of differences, plenty of major differences. It's just that none of them are morally substantive differences. That's my problem. So, do you recognize that, like, do you admit
So
now
you
you
think
cannot
it's
find a morally
immoral?
substantive difference?
I don't.
Well, let me ask you
Me
this.
personally,
Well, wait, let me ask you this. You have dogs, right? Do you like love and care for your dogs?
yeah, I fuck
Yeah,
with my
so
dogs.
if you saw somebody in their backyard shooting and killing their dog, chopping it up and eating it, like, would that not horrify you?
Horrify me? Nah, cause I'm not like one of them dudes who, oh my god, like nah. I was just, shit. I'll just be like, shit. Somebody need to call animal control on their ass.
Yeah, so you think they should be like thrown in jail for animal cruelty or something, right?
Yeah.
So what's the
If
di-
if they
so
take if
what's
they
the
take on a
major
pet
difference? Right, so what's the major difference between a dog and say a deer, where it's wrong to kill a dog, but it's not okay to kill a deer?
because dogs have been domesticated.
Deer are domesticated. There are domesticated deer. There are people with deer as pets.
Okay,
Again,
and if you take a deer as a pet, that's your own personal choice,
well, you
and you can
realize there are
domesticate it all you
wild
want.
dogs. There are
Yeah,
dingoes. There are like
and
I don't see a morally substantive
wouldn't,
difference here.
I wouldn't look twice if somebody shot a coyote. If the
Okay,
coyote got
but
in their backyard and
I'm not
endangered their family, I
understanding.
wouldn't be.
I don't see how you're creating a morally substantive difference between like your own pet dogs and any other animal.
Because if you take an animal as a pet and you agree that, hey, I'm going to take care of this animal, I don't care if it's a tiger, I don't care if it's a lion, I don't care if it's a bear. If you agree that you're going to take care of it, to stab it in the back, that's a whole different thing.
Okay, well, wait a second. So if you're gonna say the like whether or not it's okay to kill an animal depends entirely on what you want
Not
to do.
entirely, but it's a factor. It's a factor.
Okay, so if you're gonna say one of the big factors that makes it ethical or not ethical to kill an animal is basically just whether or not you want to kill it or take care of it, then at a whim, I could decide, okay, I'm not going to take care of this dog anymore and kill it. So what's wrong with that?
I think it's more of a legal issue. Me personally, I
Well,
wouldn't do that to
we're
my
not talking
dogs.
about legality. We're just talking about morality. So like, let's just separate that.
If you raise the dog and you're feeding it whatever you want to feed it to get fat to feed your family, and it wasn't illegal to kill certain domesticated animals, I don't see no problem with that.
You see no
Like if we was
problem. So
if
you
we
see
were
no
in China,
problem. So you see no problem with people raising dogs, killing them, and eating them.
In the United States, that's a whole different story.
I
In
don't see
other
what
countries,
geographic
that's what they do.
location.
In
I don't
in
see
other
why
countries,
geographic location matters. So I'm just
but do
asking
you
you.
understand that the legality
I don't care
is
about
different in
legality. I care
other?
about morality. Do you see anything morally wrong with raising a dog, killing it, and eating it?
No, just like I don't see anything morally
Why?
wrong with
Okay,
raising a cow, killing it and eating it, or raising a
okay.
pig,
Do you
killing
see
it and eating
anything
it.
wrong with raising children and then killing and eating them?
Absolutely.
Okay, why? What's the morally substantive difference between, say, a child and a dog, where it's okay to kill and eat the dog, to raise, kill, and eat
Because
the dog,
a
but not raise, kill, and eat a child?
like I said, a child is a human being.
Okay,
We are
so
two different. We are
I
two
don't.
different.
Oh, okay, I could say, well,
What
black
about
people
a
and white
fish?
people are two different things. I could say white people and black people are very different. Okay, we have different hair, we have different skin. Like,
What are you, by the way? What are you, by the way?
I'm half white, half black.
Black mom, white mom.
White mom, black dad. But I mean, you're just stating very arbitrary differences. I'm asking for a morally substantive difference.
Now, I was literally just asking a question. I wasn't stating
Sure,
anything. I
yeah.
was just asking a question.
Yeah, sure.
Um, like I said, human beings, we're all one. Okay, animals, they're all one. I don't see the difference between killing a fish and killing a cow.
Okay, well,
But
I
there
see a
is a
huge
difference
like
between killing
there's
a cow and killing a human being.
okay, I'm asking you, what's the morally substantive difference between raising and killing a dog and raising and killing a child? Like, what's the morally substantive? Don't
For,
just don't state some qualitative difference. Well, okay, the human has, two arms, two legs, and the dog has four legs.
never
Like,
said that.
yeah,
I
I know
never
there's
said that.
differences.
I never said that. But you're not acknowledging the differences. It's
There's
like
plenty of
you're
differences. There's huge
overlooking.
differences in intelligence, like the effect they can have on the
Right.
world. But I don't see,
So
like,
I'm
again, I'm
saying
not seeing the morally substantive difference.
if you end the potential of a human being, that's why I'm not with the abortion shit neither. Because if you end the potential of a human being, then you're basically destroying their whole genealogy.
Okay, so you're
We
saying
breed animals just like that.
potential. Okay, so wait, you're saying the potential of a human being to like generate good in the world, change the world, that's what makes it wrong to kill like a human child?
It's not even about good or creating change. It's just the fact that humans are born with inalienable rights, bro. That we are born
Okay,
with
the
the
only
right.
reason we're born with rights is because we grant them. So I'm asking you, what is the justification to grant the humans rights, but there's no justification? Well, sorry. You're basically saying there's
There are
justification to
animal
grant
rights
humans
though.
rights. Sorry?
There are animal rights though.
Well, yeah, there are animal rights, but I'm saying, like, you don't believe animals should have a right to life. So I'm asking
I
you.
didn't say all animals. I didn't say all animals. It's
Oh, okay, sure, sure. Like maybe you have a issue with chimpanzees or something. But like I'm asking, like you're saying it's okay to like raise a dog, kill it and eat it, but it's not okay to raise a human child and then kill it and eat it. So the only reason the human child has rights is because we grant them. And I think it's clear that there are certain qualities that a human being has that you recognize that makes it, a good thing to grant those rights. Now,
right.
I'm asking you, what qualities is the dog lacking that if the child were lacking, you would be okay with killing that child?
Okay. First of all, like I said, I mean, I'm gonna keep going back to this, bro. If you have a child and this child comes out of your own womb, this child comes out of your own conception, it is morally it's morally impugnant to kill that child, raise that child, and kill that child.
Okay, so if, like, let's say I had a child with my wife and she birthed a dog, you'd say it would be wrong to kill that dog?
I don't want to get into impossible situations because that's not even possible,
Okay,
bro.
well, no, like these hypotheticals are important. Like, I don't know
If
why it
you
matters if it just
if you if you
let's
had a
okay, let's say
litter,
it's an adopted child. It didn't come from you. It came from somebody else.
it's to me it's still the same thing because it's coming from another human being, and
Yeah, but
we
what?
have
I'm
We
just
have the
asking a very simple
responsibility to
question.
preserve. We have the responsibility to preserve human life. So the morality extends to humans,
I don't.
but
Okay,
it
I don't
doesn't
understand
extend as
why.
far. It
I
doesn't
don't
extend
understand.
that far to animals.
Okay, I don't understand why you think we have a responsibility to continue human life. If that's the case, do you think it's morally wrong to not have children?
Not necessarily, but I think it's morally wrong to abort children.
Okay, so why human life specifically do we have to continue?
To advance the furtherment of society.
Okay, so if, say, a human being would not advance society, so somebody who's mentally disabled, you think
That's
it's
their own
okay to kill
personal
them?
decision. Nah, nah,
Wait,
nah. I'm just saying that's their own personal decision.
so you'd be okay with parents murdering a mentally disabled child who would not advance society?
No, that's not what I said. No.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain yourself. Like, I'm asking a very simple question. What
I
qualities, no, like, what qualities is a dog lacking that, if lacking in a human child, would make it okay to kill the human child?
for one, a dog is lacking. For one, to 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 equate a dog to a human child isn't the same thing. But I'll answer your question. The qualities that a dog is lacking is the ability of their potential, their intellectual capacity, their ability to communicate, and I mean, all in all, just their humanity in general. Which
Okay, lack of humanity, like, can you define that? What do you mean lack of humanity?
not being a human being, not being Homo sapien.
Okay, so if you found somebody who is mentally disabled, lacked the ability to communicate, and it just so happened they had some genetic deformity which made them not human, you'd be okay with killing them? So if somebody birthed some weird mutant child, you'd be okay with like the parents killing them?
No, but even that
Okay,
person
you
would
realize
still
that
be
is
a
a
human
contradiction.
being. Do
Sorry,
you
can you
realize? But
okay,
do you
can you
realize
define
that you're
human then?
a
Because
human?
you defined human as Homo sapien, so I was assuming you meant genetics. Like, could you give a better definition of human?
Yeah. So basically, a human being is a person who is able to assimilate into a culture of other human beings, a man, woman, or child, coming from Homo sapiens, that are distinguished from other animals, right? With superior mental development, power, like being able to articulate yourself, being able to reason, being able to stand upright, which, genetically we have been able to develop. We differ from all
Uh,
other animals,
okay, I'm gonna
even
read
even
back.
primates.
I'm gonna read back what you just told me. A human being is a being that is able to assimilate into human culture that was born from a Homo sapien that has superior development than other animals.
Superior development, power to articulate, being able to stand upright on your own or with assistance, with technological assistance if you want to count people in a wheelchair, if not.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, literally a mentally disabled person, by your definition, would not be human.
No, they would because they come from a man or a woman.
No, you listed a long
I said
list of characteristics.
I said a man, a woman, or child. Someone that comes from a man or woman.
Okay, listen, you listed a long list of characteristics. Human being is able to assimilate into a culture that was born from a Homo sapien. A mentally disabled person can't assimilate into human culture, was
I
born from a Homo sapien, but it does not
you're
have superior development, doesn't have power to articulate, doesn't have power to stand up on their own, or with assistance, because we still lack like the technological ability to have
You're
like
over.
a
You're
severely
over.
disabled person walk.
You're overlooking the fact that I said that they come from another man, another human man, and another
Okay, so
woman.
this is okay. Are these traits? Do they have to all be present at once, or do any of these traits um, allow
I
somebody to
think
be
that
human?
I think that any of those traits can constitute you to be able to define someone as a human being.
Okay, then certain animals would fit this category. Certain animals are able to assimilate into human culture to some extent. Dogs are able to understand traffic laws. There are literally dogs that understand public transport, and they know which bus will go where. This is really well known in Russia. There's a lot of like street dogs in Russia that have figured out the public transport system, and they've figured out how to go on to which buses or trains to get to certain places. They know how to interact with certain people. They know how to treat certain people. They know how to communicate with people. They can ask for like food. They can ask for water. They can be friends
Yeah,
with you and play.
but
So, like
if
by your definition, a fucking dog would be a human. If any of these
no,
characteristics, if any of these characteristics, would like alone would classify something as a human being.
yeah, but they also have to be Homo sapien. Like,
Okay, so you have to be born from a Homo sapien and be a Homo sapien.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so if somebody birthed a dog, you would think it's okay for them to kill that dog.
My thing is, why do you think why do you think it's possible for somebody to birth a dog, man?
I'm not saying it's possible, but supposing somebody birthed a dog, you'd be okay with them killing and eating that dog.
Um, I mean, that's not even a possibility. So
Well,
it's
no,
hard for me to
it's
even
the
answer that
hypothetical.
question.
Let's say we were living in an alternate universe and it was
If
possible
I
for
look, if I got a bitch pregnant, if I got a bitch pregnant and she had a dog, hell no, I wouldn't kill the dog.
Oh, okay, so
I'll
do you
give
not
you
see
that.
that as a contradiction then?
No, it's not a contradiction because for one, it didn't come out of me. For two, this is a hypothetical situation, which is not even possible. But
Right.
I'm
Okay,
just saying,
so
if I personally birthed a dog, no, I'm not gonna kill that dog.
okay, do you well, that's a personal choice, but I'm saying would you consider it morally wrong if somebody else did?
Um, I don't know, bro. That's like a crazy ass.
Okay, well, dude, you have to acknowledge that there are human beings that are born with less intelligence and less capability to
Of
think,
course.
feel than a dog. So I don't see how this is very difficult. Like how is if there's human beings that are born with less capability, less intellectual capability and physical capability as a dog, and you wouldn't be
These
comfortable
are
with killing those people, but now when it's a dog, you're saying, well, I don't know. Even though you acknowledge
um
the dog has
me
higher level of
personally.
intelligence and physical capability.
I wouldn't kill a dog, me personally. Okay, I'm not talking about dogs, but any other animal. Um,
Okay, let's
you
say
know,
if a woman birthed a deer.
I mean, I can't like you can't even answer this question.
What question?
I'm saying you can't even answer your question. Not you personally, but I can't even answer that question because it's not possible. Like just like you wouldn't answer my question about people having a soul. You don't believe there's a soul. I don't believe
I
that there's a
answered your
person
question
that.
about a soul, or
But
you
do you
didn't really
believe people
ask a
have a
question about a
consciousness?
soul. Sorry?
I'm saying, do you believe that people have a different level of consciousness than
Yeah,
animals?
yeah, I do. We have a
So
higher level of
to me, to
sentience.
me,
Sure.
to me, that's a quality that constitutes immorality behind killing an animal for food in order to preserve your own life.
Okay,
Because
well,
our life in the grand scheme of things is more important than an animal's life.
Okay, well,
That's what I'm getting at.
I think we could agree on that. Like in a vacuum, a human being's life is more important than an animal's life because a human being has a higher level of sentience. The issue here, though, is you don't have to kill the animal to live. So, again, in a circumstance where you can be vegan and you could choose not to kill a lower level sentient being, why wouldn't you?
I mean, if that's your personal choice, I don't have any problem with it. Like, I have
W-
no beef with the vegan community. Like, I don't.
So,
It's your
dude,
personal
there
choice.
are, like, again, you even acknowledged during this discussion, there are animals with a higher level of sentience and consciousness than certain humans with, like, mental disabilities. So, you said you wouldn't be comfortable with killing mentally disabled people. So, why would you be comfortable with killing an animal with a higher level of consciousness than a human?
Because the fact that their DNA is different and the DNA that
Okay,
constitutes a
so
human
if we
being.
found a mutant, if we found somebody who was born from a human, but they were a mutant and they didn't have human DNA, you'd be okay with killing them?
Bro, you're asking me if we found Spider-Man or if we found
Yeah.
Thor, like, bro, these shits,
It doesn't
it's
matter.
not
The point
possible.
is the point of this hypothetical, even though it's not necessarily possible, is just to prove like this is a stupid fucking difference. Like this difference clearly doesn't matter. What the fuck does DNA matter to you? If you found out tomorrow that you weren't human and you had Spider-Man DNA,
What does DNA matter?
would that make your
What do
life any less valuable?
what does DNA matter, bro? If you had a if you were with a woman and she birthed a child and he wasn't your same DNA, would you take care of that child? What are you talking about? What does DNA matter?
Okay, you're creating a
DNA matter.
hypothetical with different
You're
variables.
cre-
So the
you're
reason I'd
creating
care is that
you're creating
my
a
girlfriend was
bro.
cheating on me. That's
You're
why I would care.
creating
It's
a
not necessarily that the
hypothetical.
DNA is the same.
At
Okay, well,
least
wait.
the example that hold on.
Let's
At least the
explore this.
example
Well,
that I
wait. Let's
gave was
explore
at
this.
least the example I gave was possible.
Well, no.
Your
Let's
example
explore
isn't even
this.
possible.
Well, wait. Let's explore this. So, if you were with a girl, you knew there was no possible way she was cheating on you. You're on an island with no other human beings. Okay. Would you
Hmm.
care if that child had your DNA? Let's say it only had her
Absolutely.
DNA, or it had like some weird mutant DNA that wasn't yours. Would you care?
Yeah, I would care, but
Why would
you
that
know,
diminish the value of that kid?
it wouldn't diminish the value of that kid. I would still say that that kid has a right to life. It's just like shit. She's on her own. If that's not my child, if that child didn't come from
Well,
me,
it
then
is
she
your
has to raise that
child.
child by
It's just that it
herself.
doesn't have your DNA.
Well,
There's
then
no
how is that
genetic
even
similarity to you.
my brother? You keep coming up with scenarios that aren't possible.
Well,
What
it is
what
conceivably
scenario?
possible. There are chimeras that are born that don't have like the father's DNA.
Okay, in a very that's a very small percent. Okay, it's highly unlikely, highly improbable that that would even happen. So for you to pick the anomaly and try to make that the rule and prove your point is disingenuous, in
I'm
my
not
opinion.
making that the rule. I'm just pointing out that there is a logical inconsistency on your part. Dude, the fundamental problem is what the fuck does DNA matter? You're just making some like really weird arbitrary distinction that ultimately doesn't matter. The qualities that you care about, and I think I've proven that this during the course of this discussion, are things like intelligence, consciousness, the ability to think and feel, like all of these things that actually matter to us.
And actually
And
being human,
you're
bro.
like, rather than focusing on those things, you're just making a weird, stupid, arbitrary distinction like DNA. Who cares about DNA? Like, what I care about is the ability to think, feel, experience, have consciousness. But rather than that, rather than acknowledging that
Bro,
these animals can think and feel like we can, you're just saying, oh, well, their DNA is different, so kill them.
don't you
Like,
don't you
is a
understand that our
Holocaust
evolution?
justifiable because certain people
Don't
have
you?
different DNA?
They're still people. Don't you understand that our evolution is based off of our DNA enhancing and creating what we are today, evolving?
Evolution isn't necessarily. I wouldn't classify
Evolution could not
evolution as DNA
evolution
enhancing.
evolution. So you
Evolution
don't
isn't
think that
DNA
we
enhancing.
so you don't
Evolution
think that
is.
we have that we are enhanced, more sophisticated, more progressive than we were sent decades ago,
Yeah, we
centuries
were,
ago,
but
eons
evolution
ago.
evolution isn't defined as enhancing DNA or certain qualities. Evolution is just changes over time due to natural selection that gives survival advantages. Like that. That's all it
Yeah,
is.
but what you categorize as changes, I can also categorize as an enhancement. To be able to stand up upright instead of hunchbacked is an enhancement. Would
That's
you
not
disagree
necessarily an
or
enhancement.
how is that not an enhancement?
That's
Would
not
you rather would
necessarily
you
an
rather be
enhancement.
hunchback?
That's an
Would you rather
enhancement
be
for a
would you
particular
rather be
environment.
Quasimodo? Would you rather be Quasimodo or would you rather be vegan gang?
It
That's
depends
an
on what
enhancement of
environment I'm living in. If I had to live in the
that's
ocean, I'd prefer to have flippers. If I was on land and I had to travel great distances, I'd rather stand upright because that's way more efficient. If I had to live in trees, yeah, then I'd rather walk on all fours
what's
and
prac- what's what's
be able to swing
practical
easily. Like
today. That's what I'm
evolution
saying.
isn't
Evolution.
necessarily enhancing; it's just adapting to certain environments.
Okay, and evolution has adapted to what's practical today,
Okay.
right or wrong.
I'd agree with that. I don't understand how that gets over the issue that you're just making an arbitrary distinction between
I
species
mean,
as a justification to commit murder. Like again,
bro,
you wouldn't
you
be
classifying
okay. Wait, you wouldn't be okay with killing a mentally disabled child because it's human. It has a certain set of DNA. But you would
yep.
be okay with killing a mentally disabled child if it didn't have human DNA.
Do you step on cockroaches, bruh? Do
No,
you
but
kill insects in
if
your
I
house?
had
If there's a spider in your house, are you gonna kill it?
yeah, I'm gonna kill it, but it's
What's the
for other
difference between a
reasons.
spider and an animal? What's the difference between a spider and an animal? You have your
So
own
the reason, yeah,
reason.
so
The morality is
yeah,
different.
we're gonna
It's
get into a
still
whole different can of worms, dude. So the reason I kill spiders is because they're carnivorous.
because strictly because they're carnivorous.
Yeah, they viciously murder other beings.
A
That's why I'm okay
human
with
being
killing
is made in the
spiders.
image of
Okay,
God.
lions do the same
Dog
thing. Tigers do the same thing.
Sorry?
Sharks do the same
Yeah,
thing.
I'm fine with
Lions,
killing. Yeah, I'm
tigers,
fine with killing carnivorous
bears.
animals. Yeah, I'm fine with killing carnivorous animals.
Oh, so you just wouldn't eat a carnivorous animal?
Yeah, so I wouldn't want to eat a carnivorous animal just for personal reasons. There's not necessarily any moral issue with eating a carnivorous animal in a vacuum. But yeah, killing carnivorous animals is morally justifiable. At least if we're talking about odd order predators. I don't want to go into the weeds too much on that,
Okay,
but
okay. I mean
um,
that
that's
and
to protect rights. Like again, I see veganism as a logical extension of human rights. So if we're going to protect animal rights, then we'd have to protect animals not only from like being murdered by humans but also being murdered by other animals. So
by
in
the way, sorry.
circumstances where it would reduce rights violations, yeah, I'd be fine with say killing a tiger to prevent it from killing like 10 deer.
Okay, okay, I get that. But by the way, I just seen a chat somebody talking about, oh, what's my apartment set up, bro? This is a 1,700 square foot house. Ain't no apartments. I own property. I don't rent. Okay, but anyways, um, I don't see how that is a contradiction to your whole vegan beliefs. Like, if we're supposed to kill carnivorous animals, what's the difference between that animal because they have to kill another animal to survive? These carnivorous animals, they cannot survive off of a vegan diet.
I know. I don't see why their need like their desire to survive justifies them killing.
Oh,
Okay, so
hold
listen.
on.
Okay, listen. If you were a vampire and you needed to kill like hundreds of people in your lifetime to survive, is that justifiable?
Bro, can we please talk about reality? You
Okay,
keep
listen.
on giving me this
If you
sci-fi
were a
bullshit.
vampire and you needed to kill multiple people to survive, is that morally justifiable?
Bro, there's no such thing as vampires. Where do you live?
Supposing there
Bro,
was, would it be morally
bro,
justifiable to kill numerous people to survive?
bro, you must live in the
I'm
Marvel
asking, okay,
universe.
like, can you
You live in the
answer
DC.
can you answer the question? Like, I think you don't want to answer it because you know.
No, no. If you're a motherfucking vampire, you die. You can't just kill other people.
Okay, so in a human context, if you needed to kill multiple humans to survive, it's wrong. But if
But you
an
don't.
animal has to kill multiple other animals to survive, then it's okay. I don't understand the rationale behind that.
Because I'm still making the differentiation between animals and humans, and you're not. You're, in
What's
my
the
opinion,
differentiation?
we just did this, brother. We
What's
just
the
did this.
morally substantive difference? The only thing you've told me so far is DNA. That's what we've whittled it down to.
No, I said consciousness as well, being
Okay.
a
Well,
Homo
we've
sapien,
trait equalized. No, we've trait
and
equalized everything. So a mentally disabled person lacks consciousness, lacks intelligence, lacks ability to build a
bro,
society. All these qualities. The only thing left is DNA. That's the only thing. That's the only thing you have a problem with. So you would be fine with killing a mentally disabled person who lacks consciousness, lacks the ability to build a society, so long as they have the wrong DNA, non-human DNA.
what are we talking? Are we talking about an alien being or something like that? Like
It could be
what
anything.
type of
It could be an
what
alien
human
being. It
being?
could be a mutant that's like changed by radiation. It could be anything.
I mean, I can't get into these hypotheticals. I can only speak on reality, and the reality is that
Okay,
we
no,
are
you can't
different
do
than
that. So the
animals.
point of these hypotheticals is to test your moral principles. So if your moral
No,
principles, no, sorry, if you can't
no.
like answer a hypothetical, that just proves your
I
moral
answered.
principles
I
are
answered.
nonsense.
No, I answered bro. I answered the question. You keep going back to the same question. I already said that the difference is because we are human and they are not. That's the main
Right,
difference.
DNA.
That's the
Right.
main quality.
You're literally saying it comes down to DNA. Dude, I could say
Yeah,
black person DNA is different than white person DNA. Therefore, black
but
people
they're
don't
still
matter as much
human.
as white
They're
people.
they're still human. That's not the same
What
thing,
does that
bro.
matter? It's different DNA. Like if all we're going to talk about is DNA, well, I could say black people DNA. I could say white people DNA. I could point out Jew DNA. Like you're just making an arbitrary distinction.
Bro, if if you were
Why are we even setting the distinction at
bro,
human
if
DNA?
you
We could narrow things down even more.
because you
Male
can't
and female DNA,
can't
black and white DNA.
because you can't mix a human's DNA with another and like you can't fuck
Suppose
a
we could.
dog
Okay,
and have
suppose
a
we could.
dog puppy. Bro, how are we gonna do these impossible? Like, I don't see how we're gonna base our arguments off of
Okay,
impossible situations.
okay.
That's just like me
The
saying that. Hold on,
reason
that's just
the
like me saying, suppose Spider-Man swung into my room right now. Would I shoot the fade with him? Nigga, it's never gonna happen.
Okay, so the reason I would bring up hypotheticals like this is because they test your moral principles. Doesn't matter if it's impossible. The point of the hypothetical is to test your moral principles. The fact that you can't answer these hypotheticals
I
without
literally
admitting
answered the
that your
question.
moral principles are in like logically inconsistent just proves, yeah, your moral
Your moral,
principles are nonsense.
bro.
Why would I care about DNA? Why would I
How are your?
arbitrarily set
Why would you care
why would
about
I
a carnivorous
arbitrarily set
being?
moral
Why?
principles on the
Why
basis
would
of
you care
DNA?
about?
And why would
Why
I
would you
like
care about a carnivorous being? Why would you care about
because
a
I'm
carnivorous
interested in
being?
reducing rights violations. So that's why I draw a
So
distinction between carnivorous and herbivorous animals. Okay,
a
so
bear
I'm not even
violates a fish's
necessarily,
rights.
well, listen, I'm not even
A bear violates
necessarily,
a fish's rights. Come on, G. A bear
sorry?
violates a fish. A bear violates a fish's rights. If a bear scoops a salmon up in a creek, it's violating its rights.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on a
Okay,
totally different spectrum.
if a
I have
bear
no
were
beef
to
with the
attack
vegan
you,
community.
would it not be violating your rights?
That's a bear's nature, and I would shoot the bear.
Okay, so there are humans who are by nature violent. So if violence is within a human's nature, is it okay for them to like murder you or rape somebody? I don't understand
No,
what being like
no,
something being in your nature.
they would face justice, and if a bear killed a human, that bear would be put down if they could find the bear.
Okay, and I think in a human context, I would
Just
use
like
similar principles.
if a dog bit a human, if my dog ever bit a human, I'll take that motherfucker out back and I'll shoot him in the head.
Okay, well, if a dog just bit somebody, I don't see how that like That doesn't make any sense. If a human attacked another human, would you just execute the person?
No, they would face justice. We have legal
Okay, so
ramifications
why
for
would
that.
you? I don't understand why you'd kill a
You want
dog
me to
just
put the
because it bit
dog on
somebody.
you want me to put the dog on trial?
Well,
The the
I
the
would.
pound is
Well,
gonna the pound is
you
gonna
can't. Okay, well, listen, you can't put a dog on trial, obviously, but I think the reasonable course of action would be to, like, maybe put a muzzle on the dog if it's out in public, or do
bro.
some sort of obedience training. Like,
Have
if
you
there
ever
was
owned a dog?
okay, if there was a human with the same level or the similar type of consciousness as a dog, where they can't speak, they can't communicate well, they're aggressive, and they go around biting people, would you say it's okay to, execute the human?
If they killed somebody, yeah, they should face the death
Okay, well, we're
penalty.
not talking about killing somebody. Let's just say they
If
bit
they bit
somebody.
somebody, if they bit somebody, then they should go to jail for aggravated assault.
Okay, well, but they can't be held morally accountable for their actions.
The human is being held accountable by
Yeah,
going to
but I'm
prison.
saying this. Okay, let's just
And the
say it
dog, if
it
the dog
literally
bit
has the
somebody,
consciousness of a dog. So let's say it's somebody with severe schizophrenia and mental disabilities, and they literally have the mind of a dog.
and they bit somebody.
Yeah, so let's say everything about this human is exactly the same as the dog. The only difference is it's got human DNA. That's it.
I mean, they should go to prison if they bite somebody.
Okay, literally everything is the same. The only difference is DNA. You're saying you'd still be in favor of treating the human differently just because of its DNA.
If a dog bit somebody, what would likely happen is you take them to the pound, and then the pound
You're
would
not
would
answering my question, and I think you're deliberately being evasive.
bro.
The
No,
dog
I'm
and the
not. You're
human are the same in every single way. The only difference is the body they inhabit. So it's the exact same mind, just
and
a
you're
different
asking me what the
body.
punishment what the punishment should be
Yeah, what punishment or course of action?
for a human being who bit somebody.
Yeah, but they have the mind of a dog. Literally everything is exactly the same between the dog and the human. The only
They're role
difference is the
playing
body they inhabit.
a human being is role playing a dog. They bite somebody. They
Not
should
role
go to
playing, literally their mind is a dog. Okay?
their
Their
okay,
mind
cool.
is a dog.
They have a dog brain.
Yeah, sure.
They should go to jail.
Okay, so you're in favor of treating the human differently than the dog because of literally DNA.
I just said the dog is going to go to the pound. It's the same. What's the difference between jail and the
You
pound?
said you said you'd be in favor of executing the dog if it bit somebody.
Yeah, if my dog bit somebody, because for one, have you ever owned a dog?
Yeah, yeah. I have multiple.
And okay, and if you're going out and you're walking your dog, and your dog went and bit a 2-year-old kid, you'll put a muzzle on him and walk him the next day like everything's
Yeah,
good or everything's
yeah.
gravy.
What would be the issue?
That's crazy to me, bruh. I think
Well,
that
it
dog,
can't bite somebody.
yeah, it can't bite somebody, but it's already proven that it's not human friendly. Like I've got a
Okay.
dog. He's not dog friendly. I keep him away from dogs. If he was ever to bite a human, I would not let him continue to live because it's a liability on me. Somebody could sue me if he goes and
Okay,
bites
well,
another
if
person.
you
I've seen
have a
dogs break
muzzle,
out a
what's the
muzzle.
issue?
But you don't think a dog can break out a muzzle? Have you ever owned a pit bull or a
It's
Rottweiler or a
conceivable.
German
There
Shepherd?
are custom muzzles where no, it's not really possible to break out of.
So it's not possible for a dog to break out a muzzle, but it's possible for a human to have a dog's brain. Got it.
I'm not the point of the hypothetical is to demonstrate you only care about DNA. Like the only
I care
distinction you're
about human
making
beings.
here. Sorry?
I care about human beings. The only it's not like
Okay, if I
the
were
only
to okay,
distinction between a
let's
human
say
being and
this
an animal is DNA.
okay,
Come on, bro.
let's say this conversation were flipped around and let's say I only care about it rather than I only care about human beings, I only care about white. So, if you're not white, if you don't have white DNA, if you don't have white skin, then you have no moral, like, it's okay to kill you. What's your argument against that?
That's racism.
Okay, well, what's the argument? What's wrong with racism?
It's immoral
Why?
because you're judging another human being based off of the color of their skin and
Really,
saying
just
that
like
they're
how you're
inferior.
judging an animal based off their species? Do you not see the parallel here?
I think the difference is that I think it is morally right to judge an animal based off of their species, and it's not morally right to judge a human being
Okay,
based off of the color of their skin.
okay.
If you're justifying judging a human being based off the
Why?
color of their
Okay,
skin,
can you explain
I
why?
don't know what you
Can you
got
go
going
into
on.
detail why it's wrong to judge a human being based off the color of their skin? Just simply explain it
Because
to me, like you're explaining it to a toddler.
because human beings have rights, they have inalienable rights that they are afforded
Well,
by our
no, they don't have
Constitution.
inalienable rights. Any time their rights can be denied, like in Nazi Germany. So they only have rights if they're
Anytime,
granted.
you're right. You're right. Their rights can be denied, just like not having the right to choose between if you want to take the vaccine or not. So human beings, we all have a commonality. We're human. We all cannot just go
Oh,
and
okay.
base.
Well, no. That argument wouldn't make sense to me because the only thing I care about is white. So if you're not white, you lack that commonality. So I don't
So you're
care.
saying
I don't care about human. So you're gonna have to argue to me as if I only care about white. So on that basis, why
if you
should I
only
care
care about
about
white,
anything other than white?
if you only,
You're making the arbitrary distinction at species. I'm making the arbitrary distinction at white. So can you
I get
explain to
that.
me why I should care about something other than white?
Because if you are judging somebody based off of their color, the color of their skin, it is immoral. It means that you are not giving them the benefit of the doubt of actually being a human being. That's where all this slavery should come from.
I
Three-fifths
don't care. I don't
compromise.
care about whether or not they're human. So you have to make an argument for why I should care about something other than white. Like again, you're
Okay,
making the
okay.
arbitrary
I can give you
distinction.
I can give you the utility of other races or the utility of people who aren't white.
Okay, let me explain how you should have constructed this argument. Okay? You should have pointed out that there are many qualities between, say, white and black people that are identical. The only differentiation between white and black people is the color of their skin, essentially. You could say, like, hair and shit
That's
like that,
that's
but
literally what I said, but I don't even think
no,
that's
that's
true.
not what you said. You brought up shit like
I
what,
said
like
no.
race, like sorry,
I
you brought up
said
shit like species and utility and crap like that.
no.
It's not what
I
you
said
said.
no. I said that you can't judge somebody based off the color of their skin.
I
I said
certainly
we're
can.
all human. I said we're. I mean, you
You
can
brought up
personally.
species when that's not something I'd care about if I was racist.
Yeah, but you said, oh, we have all these commonalities. The only difference
No,
between white
no,
and black
I'm
is the
explaining to
color
you
of our
how you
skin.
should have argued
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're saying that if I would have argued the way that you just said it, then it would have sufficed for an answer to your question. And I'm telling you that I already made that point that you're only judging somebody based off of the color of their skin, and we have commonalities. But I don't even think what you said was correct. That
You're
black
getting
people
it.
and white
You're getting
people,
it.
the only nah, but I'm telling you that what you said I don't think is correct. That oh, black people, the only difference between black people and white people is the color of their skin. That's not true either.
Okay, we can get into. Well, no, we can get into the weeds. Yes, there are different like genetic code differences that code for melanin and hair color and bone density and shit. But fundamentally,
And
really, you're
twitch
talking.
muscles
Yeah,
and
no.
athleticism.
Fundamentally, you're talking about superficial differences that really don't matter. So there are so many commonalities. Intelligence, like basic morphology,
I
culture, like
mean,
intelligent, like sentience, consciousness. All these things. The only real difference is this superficial quality. So if we were to take a white person and trait equalize them to a black person. So the only thing we change is the color of their skin. Does it make sense to take away the rights of that white person just because, we snapped our magic fingers and now their skin is black? Of course not. You're just making an arbitrary difference. Now, does it make sense when we're talking about species? So if we were to find a human that in every single meaningful way was identical to an animal, the only difference was these superficial qualities, like the body they're in. Like, okay, a pig has pink
How is that
skin and a
superficial?
curly tail. Why would I care about that? It's just like racism. Why would I care if a black person has, like, different hair, like crinkly hair, darker skin? That's not something you should fucking care about.
But you understand that's not what white people use to justify racism, right?
I
Difference in hair and
understand, but the
skin
point,
color,
like,
right?
there's a reason why I made that specific argument. Like, do you not understand? Do you not see the parallel between
I see what
racism?
you're I see what you're trying
Do
to
you not
say.
see the parallel between racism and speciesism? You're
I
being
see I see
speciesist
the
just like some
argument.
people are racist.
That's not the same. I'm still stand on
It
that
is
is
the
not the
same.
same thing.
Dude,
No, it's
it is fundamentally the same thing. You're making an
I mean, it's not
arbitrary
the same.
difference
It's
between
not the
species.
same.
Even when we trait equalize an animal where every single quality is perfectly identical, the only difference is their DNA or the body they inhabit, and then you'd still give the human more rights just because of DNA. It's just as fucking nonsensical as not giving black people rights just because of differences in DNA to white people. It's the exact same fucking thing.
You cannot compare a certain
Oh wait,
race
my headphones have
to.
run out of battery. I have to switch them. Sorry.
All right, you good.
Give me a second. Switch device. Give me a moment. Say something? Okay, I can hear you. Wait, I just have to switch the audio device on Streamlabs. There we are. That should work. Say something now?
Yo.
Okay, now we're back.
All right, I was just saying that you can't compare black people or any other race to an animal.
I'm not
And
comparing
that
black
and
people to animals.
yeah, but I'm telling you that that is the justification that Caucasian people used, basically saying that we weren't human beings, that we were 3/5 of a human being or 1/5 of a human being, whichever one that you want to reference. That is what they used in order to diminish our humanity. So you can't equivocate being a different race than a white person to being an animal.
Okay, look. The difference here is when we're talking about racism, we're not really talking about marginal cases. Like your average black person is going to have, like, again, roughly the same level of intelligence, consciousness, all these qualities that are equivalent to a white person. When
Mhm.
I'm comparing racism to speciesism, I have to use marginal cases. So I'd have to bring up, like, a mentally disabled person versus an animal. Like, I'd have to trait equalize the human being.
Right.
The point still stands. You're making an arbitrary distinction. All the qualities that you really care about are exactly the same between the human and animal, but you'd still give the human rights but take away rights from the animal. So you're still making an
Between
arbitrary
between
distinction between
between
species.
but between a mentally disabled human and an animal.
Yeah, so you're still
But
making the
not a
arbitrary distinction between
not
species.
a fully capable human being is superior to an animal.
Right, sure. I'd agree with that. But you're still making an arbitrary distinction between species. The distinction you're making here that would grant a right to life is just the DNA, and it's ridiculous. Just how it's ridiculous to say, oh well, because you're black, you shouldn't have a right to life. It's stupid. The arbitrary difference you're making is literally DNA in both cases. You wouldn't be okay with murdering a mentally disabled human being, but you wouldn't be okay with murdering a black person.
Unless they did some wild shit.
Well, sure, yeah, whatever, if they committed a horrible crime. But the point I'm making here is you wouldn't be okay with killing a mentally disabled human being, but you would be okay with killing an animal that in every meaningful way is exactly the same as the mentally disabled person. The only difference is the body they inhabit. So do you not recognize that you're being the same as a racist here?
No.
How can you not recognize that?
Argument,
You can't in good faith say that. How do you not see that?
I can, because there's still a difference between being a human being and being an animal. You're trying to say that
I recognize that. There's a difference between being white and being black.
I know that. Yeah,
you're just bringing up the same point and just making yourself look more ridiculous.
No, not really. I think you're making yourself ridiculous by trying to compare a mentally disabled person to an animal.
Okay, dude.
That's ableist. That's ableist. Do you think that's ableist or not?
Sorry, comparing a mentally disabled person to an animal?
To an animal is ableist. Yes.
No, that's just recognizing that there's mentally disabled people who have the same level of function as certain animals. There are pigs. Okay, well, dude, there are pigs that are smarter than some children. Like, a pig can outsmart, like, a 1-year-old child.
Yeah, but when that 1-year-old turns 5-year-old...
Oh, okay. Am I being ableist by recognizing... Am I being... Okay, well, no, not necessarily. Some pigs have been estimated to have roughly the same intelligence as a 5-year-old child.
You, bro? Can a pig,
sorry? Well, not me.
Can a pig score more than you on the SAT?
Well, no, not me. But the point is, am I being ableist by recognizing a pig is more intelligent than a 1-year-old? Like, no, I don't understand how that's ableist. By what definition of ableist are you going by? Can you define ableist?
Yeah, ableism is the discrimination against people who aren't able-bodied or mentally
okay, and how is recognizing that some disabled people have roughly the same cognitive capacity as certain animals? How is that being discriminating?
I didn't say that recognizing that they might have the same mental capacity is discriminatory. I said that justifying killing a person who doesn't have the same mental capacity and comparing
I'm not saying it's right to kill anybody.
Comparing that to justifying killing an animal is not the same thing, and to make that equivocation is ableist.
I'm sorry. If all else is held equal, the only difference is the body they inhabit. How am I being ableist by saying it's wrong to kill a mentally disabled person? It's wrong to kill an animal. What are you talking about? I mean, I'm saying in both cases it's wrong to discriminate. So what are you talking about? How is that ableist?
Because the mentally disabled person is still afforded rights because they're human.
Oh, okay, and I'm arguing that's stupid because you're just making an arbitrary distinction at species. That's no different than saying black people shouldn't have rights because they're black, but white people should have rights because they're white.
That's not the same thing, because
it's absolutely the same thing. It's absolutely the same fucking thing, because in both cases they're trait equalized. The only difference between the mentally disabled person and the animal. Sorry?
In your analogies, they're trait equalized, but in all actuality, in reality, they're not. They're not.
What are you talking about? I'm not saying a fucking mentally disabled person is the same as a black person. I'm saying
no. You're saying that a mentally disabled person is the same as an animal. In your trait equalization analogy, that's what you're saying, right or wrong?
I'm starting, like, I'm really starting to think you're mentally disabled, dude. And guess what? I don't think you should be killed, even though you're mentally disabled. But I think we've exhausted this discussion. Okay. You're not smart enough to continue this.
So you just go on to ad hominems when you're losing.
This isn't an ad hominem. This is just me recognizing you're clearly not smart enough for this discussion. So I think we've exhausted everything. It's just going around in a circle now. This is just beyond you.
Actually, I don't see how it's intelligent of you to
No,
equate
this is
a
beyond
human
you.
being
No, it's
to
intelligent
a
for me to
species.
say, you know what, there's no point in talking to you because you're just not smart enough to follow the conversation. So thanks for
There
coming
you
on. If you
go.
want to
There you
continue
go
the
with the ad
discussion,
hominems. There you go
yeah,
with the
okay,
ad
can you
hominems.
define what an ad hominem is? Since you're so smart, define what an ad
It's
hominem is.
it's
Yeah,
a
read it off your
personal attack.
screen.
I'm not reading that.
Read it
I'm
off
not
your
reading on the
screen.
screen. I'll share my screen. I'm not reading shit.
Okay,
I'm not
cool.
reading shit. I
All
ain't
right,
looked
cool.
up shit the
Tell,
whole
tell us
time.
what
What are you
tell
talking
us what
about?
an ad hominem is.
An ad hominem is a personal attack on somebody based off of you going at, you know, a certain characteristic that you
Yeah,
see
that's not
fit.
an ad hominem. An ad hominem
It's
is
a
a
personal
character attack
attack.
in place of an argument. So you don't even know
That's
what an ad
literally the
hominem
same
is.
shit.
Once
It's the
again,
same
proving my
shit.
point. You're
I
not smart
literally
enough to
said the
continue
same.
this discussion.
A
So
person, a
you
personal
look
attack
look
and a
up the
character attack.
definition.
What's the difference?
Look up the definition
What's the
of an ad
difference?
hominem.
I use a synonym to replace one word. That's
No, you
literally
didn't. You
what I did.
literally didn't define ad hominem properly. An
I
ad
literally said it's a
hominem
personal attack. It's a personal attack against somebody. That's literally what I
An
said.
ad hominem is a personal attack in place of an argument. An ad
And
hominem
that's what
isn't
you're doing.
simply a
You're
personal
saying,
attack. So no,
and that's
I
what
didn't
you're
make it a
literally
personal
doing.
attack. I made a statement of fact that you're not smart enough to continue this conversation. So I think that's a smart move because
That's
I'm literally
no,
just wasting my time here.
I think that's
So thank
bullshit
you.
because
So
I think
look,
that's bullshit because you don't
so
like
look,
being
you
called
don't
out
even
on
know
your bullshit.
what
You
words
don't
you're
like being
using.
called out.
I
You
this
don't
is a
know what
joke at this
words.
point. So look, I
You don't like
agreed
being called
to
out on your
debate you on
bullshit.
Red Pill. Look, I agreed to debate you on Red Pill on Monday at 2:30. So if you're still interested in that, you can come
I'm
by. We can
interested,
bring up whatever
but I'll tell
topics.
you what I'll tell
But
you what I
this
won't do. I'll
discussion
tell you what I
is
won't do.
completely done now.
Are you
You're
gonna
clearly
listen?
not smart enough to continue the conversation.
Are
Say what
you
you
gonna
want to say.
listen?
Say what you
I'll
want to
tell
say.
you what I won't do. I'm not gonna allow you to go and oh, you're not smart enough to do this. You're not smart enough to do that, bro. I own multiple businesses. I'm a college graduate.
Okay,
What are
well,
you
dude,
talking about?
if you were that smart, you
Like,
wouldn't have that haircut. So thanks for stopping by.